She got up all in my face.
He knows for a fact I threatened him to call the cops.
The problem with Kenny here is that since the show, just a few months ago, I believe, he was on the Mexico version of Big Brother. You can see how he reacts in arguments. What's up, everybody? So the Season 8 cast of Love Island USA is not out there causing drama, either thanks to Peacock or production for keeping them out of the limelight since the season ended, which might be best for them. But in the meantime, Season 6 and Season 7 always love to be in some drama. And unfortunately, today we have to talk about the con man Kenny from Season 6 today. JaNa's just been out there chilling. A few days ago, she posted this picture about how she's so humble in a shirt that says, "I heart JaNa," even though in the picture it's backwards and it looks like something else. But even though JaNa's just been chilling, people have had her name in their mouths lately. I talked about Andrea in comments over the weekend. But now Kenny has shown his ugly face again, going on a podcast. He had been outcast for being in a relationship with JaNa for clout and maybe doing other terrible things in a text chain with a friend or something. There could have been some sort of racist comments and all of that. Well, now Kenny's trying to blame JaNa, and he was saying that basically he wanted out of the relationship, but JaNa wanted him to stay. We're going to listen to some of this podcast today and hear Kenny's bullshit, in my opinion.
And she was just insisting she would change, that she wanted to stay in the relationship. She wanted to stay in the relationship.
So here's Kenny insisting that she's the one that wanted to stay in the relationship. There is a lot of revisionist history here, though. And even though Kenny at times seemed miserable in that relationship, let's not pretend like Kenny did not enjoy the clout that was coming to him because of that relationship, because that is what happened. He had clout because of that relationship.
We were having drinks. We had some drinks, and then there was an argument that we had in the car.
He's going to talk about arguments they have, one of which was their last big argument. And let's just listen.
I was like, okay, it's an argument. We have arguments every 2 days, every 3 days. Just stay quiet.
Acting like they used to argue all the time, which maybe they did.
We got to the hotel, and I go to sleep. I think I woke up in the middle of the night, and my phone was off of the charger.
He's going to detail the night JaNa grabbed his phone.
I remember saying, I didn't see my phone. I think I was half asleep, and I remember saying her name, where are you? So she was in the bathroom.
So this was one of the things that was at the end of their relationship. I'm assuming this is when JaNa saw text messages of his. We still don't know what those text messages are. There's been a lot of speculation. Leah was the first one that I remember saying it was something racist and that Kenny's racist. We still don't know if the text messages were just him generalizing, him using a racist word, him being racist about JaNa. That's always been speculation. We still don't know.
And she basically wakes me up with that. I went through your phone. I'm upset. I was like, okay. So I grabbed her phone. Said, all right, let me go through your phone now.
Again, Kenny's going to act like the big fight wasn't because of what JaNa saw on his phone. He's going to act like he wanted to look at her phone too, and that could have been incriminating, and she didn't want him to see her phone, I guess, is part of his argument that he has tried to depict in this podcast.
She got up all in my face. She got physical.
Now here's the part that really annoyed me. Kenny is acting like JaNa is the one that got physical with him, and this is again Kenny trying to put blame on JaNa for the end of their relationship. The problem with Kenny here is that since the show, just a few months ago, I believe, he was on the Mexico version of Big Brother, or at least a Latin version of Big Brother. I don't know. I don't watch it because, I can't speak Spanish, and it's a Spanish version. But on that show, he did a lot of shit that also showed his true colors. One of which was, you can see how he reacts in arguments. So before we watch Kenny start to get emotional during this podcast, I want everyone to keep that in mind, that we have seen in the past Kenny being the one to get very angry, very aggressive during an argument. But let's watch some of Kenny's tears to be the martyr Pisces in this interview.
I said, you know, use your phone.
He was being very melodramatic during this interview, at times getting emotional, using tears or almost tears or fake crying or real crying. Who knows? That was one of the times he tried to bust out the tears to describe their last argument about the phones. But a lot of what he said in this podcast doesn't mesh with each other. It makes him seem like a bullshitter. Surprise, surprise. A con person in a relationship from Love Island looking like a bullshitter. He talks about the time JaNa went on a girls' trip. So if Kenny was just so over this relationship, why did Kenny want to go on a girls' trip?
When she had planned a girls' trip to LA and with her friends, and I asked, hey, am I invited? Can I go? Oh no, it's a girls' trip. Okay, have fun.
Again, though, when this was actually happening, there is footage of Kenny wanting to go on that trip too. So Kenny, who's acting like he didn't want to be in the relationship, he loved the clout in that relationship at the very least.
Hopefully she takes me next time.
We're going to get back to some of what Kenny said, but I want to get to some of JaNa's initial responses to this podcast appearance from Kenny.
Before I call my lawyers, I would like to make a cute little statement to the person who thought it was a good idea to send me a cease and desist and then go on a whole ass podcast and make up straight fucking lies. Very ballsy of you. How fucking insane.
So there's been a cease and desist on Kenny's behalf to JaNa, I'm assuming, maybe because of the text messages, maybe because of something else. So, you know, JaNa has stopped talking about this last year. So I agree with JaNa. Very ballsy of Kenny, who sent the cease and desist, to go on a podcast and try and blame JaNa for so much. Because the cease and desist, I would assume, can stop her from showing the text messages that she acquired illegally, because they were private information. They're not her text messages. But it shouldn't be able to stop her from talking about the text messages, especially if Kenny now is going to talk about them.
But if you want to fucking play, let's fucking play. I think you should give me permission to drop all the text messages.
So that is what JaNa is threatening to maybe do. I'm sure that's going to have to be a legal situation, though. Kenny was asked about the text messages. We'll listen to his response over it, and you all can decide your thoughts on it.
I did say a statement where I generalized, and I take full accountability. It doesn't represent the person that I am, and I take full accountability for it. But like I've dated black women before. I have black ancestry. I'm Dominican.
So he has his excuses there, but he also is saying he's taking responsibility for whatever generalization allegedly was in text messages.
Why don't we start there? Give me permission to drop all the text messages, and then we could just play from there. You know everything you said was a fucking lie. All of my friends know it was a lie, so I'm not even stressing.
I did like JaNa throwing that shade during the video when she almost said all of our friends and then said all of my friends, because everyone has stood behind JaNa during this situation. And I think that in and of itself speaks pretty high about Kenny being scummy, for sure. JaNa has not watched the podcast, obviously, but she was getting tagged in clips. She talks about Kenny's big claims that she's the one that got violent.
I'm so sorry, guys. One more thing, because I'm literally on set, and then I'll have my lawyers talk for the rest of me. You guys are tagging me in these videos of this ragged-ass podcast. No, I'm not watching that fucking podcast. I've seen enough clips to know, good enough for me to make a call. But if you really think someone that's 6'3" needs to call the cops on someone that's 5'6.5", either you're a bitch or a bitch. He knows for a fact I threatened him to call the cops. But you want to play it the other way? I think that's so crazy.
Again, I believe JaNa here not just because Kenny has a history of lying. He was conning on the show. I did fall for it on the show. By the end of the season, I thought they could be a good couple. Kenny seems to really care. But since the show ended, you can see that Kenny is a con. But even if you take away Kenny's history of lying, the video I showed during his Spanish Big Brother appearance, where he is the one that definitely got very aggressive during arguments, it's more evidence that JaNa is likely the one telling the truth about a possible aggressive fight.
So crazy, and that's the last thing I said to him. Before I was going to call the cops, he piped the fuck down, and then I left, and that was it. Because the second you want to threaten me, it's a fucking wrap. It's a fucking wrap. Fucking talking about I'm begging to stay. Bitch, do you not know who I am?
I think whatever Kenny's plan was by being on a podcast, I don't know if it was to try and change his image, I don't know if just to tell his side of the story, to act like a victim, like a martyr, whatever it was, I think it has failed huge because I don't buy any of the emotions in his video for one. But also if you go and watch the video, I could only mostly post audio because copyrights, but if you go and watch some of the podcasts or some of the clips, Kenny loves to take his time to tell the story. And in my opinion, it's because he's lying and he's thinking about what to say next. That's why he talks so slowly, pauses a lot while telling the story. One last thing he did say, though, was that Cordell was the only person to reach out to him. Hopefully I could use this clip and not just the audio.
Did anyone from the season reach out? Any of the guys?
Yeah, Cordell reached out to me, and that's the one person that I have the utmost respect for.
Well, Cordell responded to that and said, at Kenny Rodriguez, we not even going to get on how you sat on that podcast and lied the entire time. But what we not going to do is lie like I condoned anything you did/said. After you called me, I got on that ass and we haven't spoke since. Shout out to my sis JaNa, love you for life, girl. And keep my motherfucking name out your mouth. I don't fuck with you, bro. So even Cordell telling Kenny to basically fuck off, which again speaks for itself that nobody on the cast messes with Kenny anymore, and they shouldn't. He's bad news. He might have been trying to fix his brand during this podcast appearance, but I don't think it worked. I think it had the opposite effect because Kenny is now one of those people where you can't trust anything he says.